Hello and welcome back. Today I am playing with Red, who is in the Midway, and I am in the Stalingrad. Now, as I believe all of you know, Stalingrad is a very strong ship. But I have actually had some issues with it, which mostly has to do with the fact that I have a tendency to play it way too aggressively. I push too far up and end up being focused and dying fairly early on. It also doesn't help that I have been fairly unlucky with shell dispersion most of the time. I haven't really been able to get those nice salvos that you would usually expect in Stalin. But this game is quite differently. I end up having way more luck with dispersion, and I do also try to play a bit more passive, at least in the beginning, so as to not end up being the focus of the enemy team. And you can already see that by the fact that I'm not even going full speed yet. It's not really until now that I start accelerating fully. But so far we are not really seeing much activity over here. It looks like most of the ships on the enemy team will be going over to the east side thanks to Red's spotting. But that's fine. We can try to push through A and then head over to the other side if that is how the game turns out. First ship in range was the Grosse, so because it was quite angled I use HE, which is not really a shell type that is that common with the Stalingrad, simply because the AP is way too strong for its own good. Black is smoking up, probably providing some cover, but it does mean temporarily no spotting. But once the Grosse is spotted again, I shoot some more and actually score a fire this time. But he's moving behind the island, and the Lion does not really seem like he will come over to this side. So he will, or all of the ships on this side will be out of my fire angles for now. Enemy Shimakaze is heading in towards the cap, where our Black has been trying to cap. I attempt to lob some shells over the island, but it's not the easiest installing because the arcs are very flat and he moves close to the island and enters the cap just before the Black can finish capping it. I see a rune sailing broadside, even though he's behind an island. I managed to get some shells over him and get a 10k salvo. Meanwhile, I'm radaring the Shimakaze, trying to get my team to shoot at it, but unfortunately they don't really seem that interested in doing so. I am pushing further down south now to see if I can try to deal with the ships that are south of the island here, but I do send out a second salvo on the rune again, and I get a second 10k salvo. Now, for whatever reason, the Shimakaze decides to push out a bit. Looks like he will do a 180 turn first, but then he again just turns back. Instead of trying to survive and come back later, he decides to basically waste all his torps in hopes of getting some damage, and then move on to the next game, I guess. I don't bother switching to HE. Instead, I hold my fire for a good time and end up getting 6 hits and basically evaporating the shimmy. And it's easy for the hipper to finish him off. Now the lion is pushing out a bit, and my shells can just clear, and I score a 12k salvo on him. Of course, he is a broad-sided BB, so not that surprising. Smart move by him, he is turning in, which means that my shells will no longer be able to clear the island. Had he turned out, I would have been able to continue to shoot at him, and that obviously would have been bad for him. So, actually pretty smart move from his side. We do have a couple of enemy ships, or at least one, in ACAP. But our team is trying to deal with that as best they can. Over at sea, we have lost that cap, and the positioning of the ships we have there is questionable at best. And we also see that we have actually a Bismarck, which is either AFK or sitting back and doing more or less nothing next to red. Who red, of course, had been trying to deal with the ships mostly on this side as best they can. And as they finish capping A, the Moskva is actually pushing out, which is not the smartest move. As we can see, even though he is slightly angling now, he is giving a fair amount of broadside, and against Stalingrad's improved AP angles, you can guess the result, that it will not end up well for him. First salvo, 2 citadels and 22k damage. Surprisingly, he was shooting AP. He will change that, but the fact that he even had it loaded against the nose in Stalingrad says it all, I think. Second salvo, he is quite angled now, and I mostly just hit superstructure, but still 4k. Now, for that reason, he decides to turn in. I mean, he tried to get all his guns out, but really not worth it, because look at this. 4 citadels, 39,000 damage, and a devastating strike. So yeah, he had a lot of fun. And basically with those 2 salvos, ignoring the middle one of course, I did 61,000 damage with 12 shells. So that's kind of insane. I was reporting this game, and I assume it was from him, because potato move, blame the player who utilizes his mistake. Either way, we are starting to deal with the flank here now, finally. The lion is healing, which is very nice of him, because it enables me to do some more damage. The Frittegrosse is reversing. I can't really see where the guns are aiming, but I start to reverse to make sure I don't end up giving him opportunity to shoot at me. Red keeps pummeling the 2 battleships with whatever ammunition his planes happen to carry. And is being very valuable in keeping at least the Frittegrosse occupied. And I can deal with the lion one-on-one, which is not that difficult at this state. Get another 5k and finish him off and get my second kill. So I start pushing up on the Fritte and I will say that the push I do here is very poorly executed, because I push at him in a very strange angle and then I turn out, because Reds tell me that he's starting to turn his guns towards me. And instead of just angling in, I go out and end up eating 14k. Very unnecessary and definitely a bad play, but he goes down and I can start turning back towards the east side now. I am detected, however, which means that the enemy DD is somewhere within my detection, or most likely the enemy DD. It could be the rune as well, I guess, but unlikely. Because Red is in the midway and I'm telling him that I'm detected, and he comes with his planes to detect the Fletcher, which he does here. This way I can save my radar, and instead I can keep it for when he smokes up, if he so does. Didn't bother switching to HE for the first salvo, since as we saw with the shimmy, the AP can still do good damage. But once I shoot my salvo, I switch to HE to do a bit more. I'm trying to be mindful of torps, but unfortunately, just as I get the Confederate, I eat one on the nose and I am forced to repair. As expected, he does smoke up and I can radar him because I saved it. And now me, Red and the rest of the team we have here can finish him off. I managed to avoid the second set of torpedoes, which was very important. And I can also finish off the Fletcher. So I'm up to about 183,000 damage and 3 kills. The rune I shot at before is detected again heading south. He's very low and I used the HE salvo I had loaded on him. Sadly I misjudge a bit and not really have RNG with me and misses him. Enemy Yamato giving broadside, sadly going a bit slower than I had expected, or rather he's turning in and I don't do much. Here I don't know really what I did. First of all, I didn't really expect him to hit the island, and when he did I kind of panicked and just shot at his nose, and of course he started reversing, but even so the shells I shot completely missed. So that was a bit of a bad play. Next salvo is better, roughly 10,000. And here I do a pretty bad choice by shooting at the Yamato instead of the broadside target that is moving very, very slowly. I have no real explanation for this. I think I was just trying to get the 200,000 damage achievement here. But instead I waste a salvo and the second one, because I have to shoot when it's going behind island, I completely miss at Otago when I eventually switch. And then here I will hit him, but as it turns in, I will not do as much damage as I would have liked. Yamato is going down, and unfortunately once again I waste a salvo, because the Bismarck hits him at close range and detonates him. The Targo meanwhile has moved behind the island. I can no longer shoot at him. So I missed a couple of opportunities there to go do some good damage on him. And that's a bit frustrating because, as we will see when this game ends, I will be about 7,000 shy on my personal damage record. And if I had made some better choices, I would have not only broken my record, but I most likely would have also passed 300,000 damage for the first time ever. So pretty disappointed with myself, frustrated, but the damage that I end up doing is still really good even in a Stalingrad. Red and the rest of our team have been dealing with Atago, and Red managed to get his second kill. Rune shoots at me just before he sails behind the island, but he misses and would have done so even without me trying to evade. Red is coming over to help deal with the Rune and Spot. Unfortunately, I am quite alone, which means that I will be the main focus of the carrier. And especially the dive bombers on the midway hit very, very hard. Just as I shoot at the Rune, the midway pops up. So unfortunately I can't shoot at him. And we see the midway bombers did about 11k on me. There is another mistake I do that also cost me damage. I shoot at the Rune just as Red kills him. I really should have held my my salvo there. But I wanted to make sure that he died. And therefore I wasted that salvo. We had to cross these plains, which means that the midway is no longer spotted, and as the torpedo bombers come, I have to start turning into them. And we also see on the minimap that the midway is out of my radar range, so there's no way for me to actually shoot at him. At least not until Red starts spotting him again. And I get a 13k salvo on him and earn the high caliber achievement. I get a nice big broadside from the midway and score another 17,000 as Red is attempting to torp him. And it looks like he might have hit one of those torps. And I am just trying to minimize the damage from the planes midway sending my way. He's down to about 24k HP. And he's starting to show me broadside again. So fire my front guns and hold a bit to see what he will be doing. Get a good hit. And sadly, no kill. So, moving on to the result screen. We see that I ended up at 280,000 damage, which is a really good result, even in a Stalingrad. 3 kills, sadly, not more than that. But I also managed to get 10 citadels, which is pretty nice. 700,000 credits and about 13,500 XP. Almost 3,000 free XP as well. Devastating Strike, Confederate, Dreadnought and High Caliber. A nice collection of achievements there. Going into the team score, I ended up getting 3,200 base XP, which is a really good result as well. Red ended up at 2.3, which again also really good. 3 kills he managed, and by quite some margin the second best on the team. Detail report. We see that I mostly shot AP. Only a couple of shells HE and very minimal fire damage. And didn't actually tank that much damage, only 600,000. In the beginning of the game I stayed quite safe, so hardly surprising. Damage received 99,000, decent but not amazing, but enough for a Dreadnought. Killed the Moskva obviously, like I said, with just 2 salvos I did about 61,000 damage, and the rest was that middle salvo. Lion and Fletcher kill as well, and then of course we have the Midway. From the beginning he has about 71,000 HP, I did 67. What's even more annoying is that before that last salvo I did, he had 24,167 HP, and with my 9 shells I did 23,800, meaning that the Conqueror who got the kill did a whopping 367 damage to him. So that's really annoying. And whatever is left, I guess, is what the torpedo from Red did. Results, about 500,000 plus and some 16,000 commander XP as well. So all in all, I would say this is a really good game. Guns behaved for once, and I managed to do some good damage thanks to that. Messed up a bit shooting at Yamato when I should have shot at Atago. With a bit of luck I could have easily done like 20k extra on him or something like that. And had I not wasted the last salvo on the rune that Red killed, I would have been able to shoot some more at the Midway and probably would have killed him completely by myself, or done a few thousand more perhaps. So I think that the potential to break my damage record was definitely there, but maybe breaking 300 was optimistic. It would have been possible definitely, but I would have needed to get some really good hits on that Atago. So it annoys me that I did the mistakes I did, but I'm still very pleased with the game. Good damage, or really good damage even, and over 3,000 base XP is always really nice to get. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you next time.